It's 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV, 5 things you need to know for Monday, March 18th, 2024. I'm Derek Gilbert, along with Grace the Rescue Dog, here in the barn again today. Topic number 5 today is Ukraine. One of the things I think we Americans want to know is how the tens of billions of dollars in military aid we've sent to Ukraine are being used. Are they actually getting to the front? Beyond the question as to whether this will actually draw us into a full-on war with Russia. But beyond that, are these weapons actually getting to Ukrainian soldiers? Well, the Pentagon, the Defense Department, telling Congress and the American people everything is fine. There is no evidence that the guns and weapons and ammunition have been diverted, stolen, or otherwise misappropriated. However, there's a new report from the Government Accountability Office that says that the Department of Defense is not actually tracking allegations of misuse. One source familiar with how the report was put together said, quote, "If you never look, you never find it." What corruption? We don't see any corruption. That's essentially how it's going. The United States remains the leading supplier of military aid to Ukraine. So far, $42 billion. The Biden White House asking for another 60, but that's been held up by Republicans in the House of Representatives saying, look, we need to secure our own borders before we try to restore Ukraine's borders. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry issued a report on Thursday that said its forces have killed nearly 6,000 foreign mercenaries and volunteers fighting on behalf of Ukraine. The largest number of fighters coming from Poland, about 1,497. The number killed from the United States, 491, UK 360, Canada 422, kind of surprisingly high. Now, bear in mind, these are numbers from Russia's Ministry of Defense, so they may be propaganda. In fact, probably is propaganda. But the fact that it's been put out there may be Russia's way of laying the groundwork for justifying a wider escalation of the war. Look, these other nations are sending guys, calling them volunteers and mercenaries, when in fact they're there on behalf of their governments. Topic number 4, Iran. The Biden administration last Wednesday approved a sanctions waiver that unlocks upwards of $10 billion in frozen funds for the government of Iran. This is according to a copy of a notice submitted to Congress late on Wednesday, obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. The sanctions waiver allows Iraq to transfer electricity payments to Iran via third parties. This waiver was set to expire this month. It was last approved by the Biden administration in November. They have now extended it again. Again, that frees up about $10 billion for Iran. Now, Republican foreign policy leaders in Congress questioned the wisdom of this waiver last week. The State Department says, well, it's okay. The funds can only be used for humanitarian supplies like food and medicine. It can only be used for humanitarian stuff, so it's fine. Somebody needs to explain the concept of fungibility to Secretary of State Blinken and President Biden. Oh, wait, they probably know what it means. They're just dissembling. Why? Why, when Iran is backing militia groups that are actively and repeatedly attacking American soldiers, would we free up $10 billion that they can now reappropriate from humanitarian things to, bullets and missiles? Topic number 3, leprosy inside the United States. Yes, it appears to be becoming endemic in Florida, particularly. A report issued by the Centers for Disease Control found that there were 159 new cases of leprosy in the United States in 2020, about 20% of those coming from Central Florida, which suggests that it is becoming endemic. Leprosy, otherwise called Hansen disease, is a chronic infectious disease caused by bacteria. Now, if it's untreated, it can result in blindness, paralysis, nose disfigurement, the shortening of toes and fingers. I mean, you have read about leprosy in the Bible and how lepers were essentially condemned to live outside the camp for fear of spreading the disease to others. Nowadays, it's relatively easy to cure as long as it's caught early on, which is why it's so rare and why its reappearance here in the 21st century is a bit surprising. Again, it can be cured fairly easily, but the fact that it's spreading is concerning. Topic number 2, fake news on UFOs. Talked last week about the Pentagon's report saying that no evidence of aliens, no government cover-up either. Right? The UFO story that, as it's reemerged since December of 2017, is in fact fake news. An investigative journalist named Stephen Greenstreet at the New York Post has done really good work in exposing how this whole modern flap has come to be. It seems that a small group of UFO activists inside the Pentagon have spent years misleading the media, a credulous media. Yes, this even includes Tucker Carlson, I'm sorry to say, and Congress. You might remember back in December of 2017. I remember this very well because this came out a week after the book I co-authored on the UFO phenomenon, The Day the Earth Stands Still. A week later, the New York Times released a bombshell story about a Pentagon UFO program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. $22 million in Pentagon funds spent on this program. The Times reported that Nevada Senator Harry Reid spearheaded the creation of ATIP. The story, unsurprisingly, went viral. It was picked up by the mainstream media. Suddenly, it was okay to talk about UFOs, or UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. It was everywhere. Mainstream media, again, Tucker Carlson, devoting a lot of airtime to this over the last 6 years. Well, the New York Post reported that the Pentagon never had an official UFO program called ATIP. In fact, kudos to the New York Post for being alone in carrying this story. ATIP was invented by Senator Harry Reid. Here's how it came about. Defense Intelligence Agency scientist read a book about weird things happening at Skinwalker Ranch. He went there. He saw what he claimed were weird things, wrote his own book, and then went to Senator Harry Reid, who just happened to be a very good friend of the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, Robert Bigelow. He said, we need to do something to investigate these weird things at Skinwalker Ranch. Reid agreed, got the Pentagon to allocate $22 million for it, and the only bidder on the program to investigate weird things at Skinwalker Ranch was the owner of Skinwalker Ranch and friend of Harry Reid, Robert Bigelow. Well, the problem is, here it was called AWSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program. They got the Pentagon to approve the funding and create the program by neglecting to tell them they wanted to investigate ghosts and chupacabras and stuff. And when the reports started coming in about ghosts and chupacabras and stuff, the Pentagon freaked out. We're going to look like fools, idiots. Especially because, as we now know, there were Chinese spy balloons floating over the United States that they were missing because they were chasing ghosts and chupacabras and stuff. So they wanted to kill the program. Trying to save the program, and save the program for his buddy, Robert Bigelow, the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, Harry Reid put in a request to make the program top secret so nobody would find out about it and laugh at it. But he changed the name to ATIP because inside the Pentagon, AWSAP was now toxic. This is how ATIP came to be. There never was an ATIP program. Lou Elizondo never headed the program. It's all fake news, which begs the question, why has the corporate media spent so much time on this fake story, trying to convince us that there really are craft coming from other worlds paying us a visit? That is the question, isn't it? Almost as though it was intentional. I am not a coincidence theorist. Coming up, Delusional Don, and I'm not talking about Mr. Trump. That's straight ahead on 5 and 10.
There is an all-out war being waged on the minds of an entire generation of today's young people.
State lawmakers are now questioning how 70 foster kids can go missing.
They have convinced us in the West that children are a burden. Birth rates are below replacement levels just about everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere.
People would have to be utterly blind or insane not to recognize the current heartbreaking onslaught against our most vulnerable citizens, our children.
Children who have been thrown up against walls and locked in closets. Children who hide under their beds in fear and whose nightmares are real. Children who have been beaten with 2x4s, whipped with bicycle chains, and burned with cigarette butts.
children living in foster care are 4 to 5 times more likely to commit suicide than those who are not.
An agenda to submit our current generation of children to a fate far worse than death is being carried out.
I was 5 years old. I was doing dishes. My mom was so mad. She had picked up one of the steak knives and shoved it through my hand and just walked away.
Who will stand in the gap for these children? These are real lives.
Item number 1 today, this is what delusional looks like. The gentleman on the left on your screen behind me, Don Lemon, the fired CNN anchor, who for a brief moment was the host of a program funded and paid for and hosted on X, formerly Twitter, Elon Musk's platform. His first interview was with Mr. Musk. After that interview, X, formerly Twitter, announced it was no longer partnering with Don Lemon. He was still free to keep, upload his program to the platform, but they weren't going to pay him to do it. Well, we now know why X decided to sever its ties with Don Lemon. According to the New York Post again, citing a document that they saw, Lemon asked for, from Elon Musk, a salary of $8 million with $5 million upfront, a free Tesla Cybertruck, an equity stake, part ownership in X, and, a free private jet flight to Las Vegas, a suite for him and his fiancée, a man, and that the company pay for a day of drinking and massages in Las Vegas. All of that for him to agree for X to carry his program. X later put out a note saying, we've decided to terminate the business agreement. Don Lemon then played the victim card, went on CNN and The View last week claiming how he was being censored. No, he wasn't being censored. He was just being brought back to reality. $8 million a year with $5 million up front, plus a free Cybertruck, plus a free spa day for him. Please. Don Lemon is soon going to be relegated to the ash bin of history because he is not living in the real world. Well, Countering the Darkness, Skywatch TV's virtual conference is on now. It went live, it was released to the world on February 29th, but you can still sign up and get a full 90 days access. The clock has not started ticking for you yet if you haven't signed up. You can take advantage of 24 cutting-edge presentations from the likes of Tom Horn, his last presentation recorded last fall before he became ill. Rabbi Jonathan Kahn, Rabbi Zev Porat, many others, Dr. Judd Burton, Ryan Pitterson, scholars like Dr. Igal German, Dr. Mike Spalding, Pastor Casper McLeod, our good friends Kenny C., Vicki Joy Anderson, Sharon and me, and others, all available. Plus, as a free bonus, all 6 Skywatch Films documentaries. Again, 90 days access. Watch them in the order you choose, when it's convenient for you. You basically set the conference schedule. More information and registration at defenderconference.com, defenderconference.com. For the last 3 years, Skywatch TV has been working on a new docu-series called Rescue Us, which really explains the mission of what we do at Skywatch TV and Whispering Ponies Ranch. As part of this week's program, you hear the story of how Tom and Nita Horn met. And Tom tells a story on himself that will have you laughing out loud. Don't have liquid in your mouth when you watch this, because you will do a spit take. It is heartwarming, but also funny, and you get to see a self-deprecating side of Tom Horn that we got to see all the time. If you only saw his presentations and you see the very serious eyebrows that he would bring, you might get one impression of Tom, but behind the scenes, he loved to laugh, and he loved his wife more than anything else in this world, except maybe for his kids. So don't miss the program. You'll see it right now at skywatchtv.com. All of our video content always there. Our video channels at Apple TV or Roku. If you've got a set-top box, please add the Skywatch TV channel there. And coming soon to Fire TV. I know that's just days away. We've been saying it for days, waiting for the official notice. I know the coders are working on this. But you can also catch it at over-the-air, our over-the-air broadcast schedule. Posted online, skywatchtv.com/channels. You can also see it right now at Rumble, rumble.com/SkywatchTV. That's the video source that has not canceled us. You'll also catch it at our mobile app, and maybe that's the best way to do it because it bypasses the gatekeepers. It goes directly from the Christian company that hosts the content to your mobile device, smartphone or tablet, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire. We have apps for all of those and links to the app stores at skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.